Hi boys and girls, it's Mrs. Becker, and today's story I want to read to you is by one of my favorite authors and illustrators, Tomie de Paoula, and he loves to find stories from around the world and then give his own special twist on them. The book's name is Jamie O'Rourke and the Big Potato, and in this story you're going to hear a potato being called a pratie, which is how they say it in Ireland in some places. And there's a leprechaun, and you might hear me accidentally try an Irish accent, so don't judge. It's a little silly, but I love this book. Here we go. Jamie O'Rourke and the Big Potato. An Irish folktale retold and illustrated by Tomie de Paoula. Jamie O'Rourke was the laziest man in all of Ireland. He would do anything to avoid working, especially if it had to do with growing potatoes. Jamie O'Rourke, his wife Eileen would say, will have nothing to eat this winter if you don't go out and dig up the praties. Oh, the saints preserve us, Jamie would whine. Me back's as sore as can be. Sure as I'm telling you, wife, you'll have to dig them up yourself. I'll break in two if I so much as get out of this bed. So Eileen, who had done all the planting and watering and weeding anyhow, would go out into the tiny garden and dig up the smallest potatoes in Ireland, all because Jamie was too lazy to dig a larger garden and had no money to buy good potato seed. Then poor Eileen wrenched her back and was laid up in bed. Saint Bridget and the Virgin Mary herself must have smiled on Eileen O'Rourke, the village woman said. Why, it's the first rest she's had since she married Jamie O'Rourke. With Eileen in bed, Jamie began to worry. No Eileen to dig meant no praties all winter, and no praties meant no food. Oh, poor me, wailed Jamie. I'll starve to death. I'd best go to church and confess to Father O'Malley. There's no telling how soon old death will be knocking on me door. So, even though it was midnight, Jamie set out for the church. So here's the picture of poor Eileen in bed. Here's the lady he's talking about. That's the first chance she's had to rest. Here he is on his way out to the church. He was about halfway down the hill when he heard a singing and a tap, tap, tapping sound. Sure, and I wouldn't be knowing, Jamie whispered, but I swear it's a leprechaun. And sure enough, sitting in a circle of ferns in the moonlight was a leprechaun singing and hammering tiny nails into the heels of the fairy boots he was making. Jamie knew just what to do. There's that leprechaun making the fairy boots. He crept up and grabbed the little man by the coattails and held firm. Let me go, let me go, the leprechaun shouted. Not on your life, Jamie said. Not until you show me where you keep your pot of gold. Now, everyone in Ireland knows that leprechauns make boots and dancing shoes for the fairies who pay for them with gold. And everyone knows that if you catch a leprechaun, he'll pay for his freedom with his pot of gold. But this leprechaun was cleverer than most. Oh, please, 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 Mr. Mortal Man, he pleaded. I'm just starting out making fairy shoes and I only have 1 or 2 pieces of gold in my pot. Won't you make a wish instead? Why, what would I wish for? Jamie asked. Me, who's about to die of starvation because my wife is sick in bed and can't dig the praties for the winter, and they're such puny praties anyhow. Well, said the leprechaun, reaching into his pocket, you could wish for the biggest pratie in the world. It would last all winter, and you wouldn't have to do anything more than plant this seed, water it, and wait. Little seeds right up there. That sounded wonderful to Jamie, "Done!" he shouted, and as the leprechaun dropped the seed into Jamie's hand, Jamie let go of the coattails and the leprechaun scampered. When Eileen heard what he had done, she was furious. "Jamie O'Rourke, you're not only the laziest man in Ireland, but a fool as well. Giving up a pot of gold for a pretty seed." "Well, I'm going to plant this seed and water it, and you'll see," Jamie said, and out he went. So there that leprechaun scampered. Scampered means got away. And there he is letting his wife know about the seed. And Faith Eileen did see, in no time at all, the biggest, finest potato plant had sprouted out of the ground, followed by a potato itself. It was so big, it pushed up not only all the dirt in the garden, but the garden shed and the corner of the cottage as well. "Well, surely now it's ready to dig," Jamie said proudly, "and check out that potato." So there's their house. And this right here, this is the potato, and it's so big, it's pushed up their house. He hoed all around it, but he couldn't dig that pretty out of the ground. He got a beam and a big rock and tried to pry it out. He pushed and he pushed, but it wouldn't budge. As he was pondering what to do, his neighbor passed by on his way to the village. He couldn't believe his eyes. He couldn't wait to tell everyone in the village what he had seen. And before you knew it, the hill up to Jamie's was filled with the villagers coming to see the big potato. So that's the whole village right there. And that's the potato right there. "Where did it come from?" they asked. Jamie told them about that lucky night he caught the leprechaun and how smart he had been. "Why, anyone could have gotten a pot of gold," he bragged, "but the biggest pretty in the world, well, that took some doing." "However did you outsmart a leprechaun?" they all asked. At once, Jamie hesitated and scratched his head. "We'll help you dig up that pretty, Jamie, if you'll tell us how you did it." And they grabbed the shovels and the hoes, and they started to dig. Do you think he'll tell them? They dug and they dug and they pushed and they shoved until the potato flew up out of its hole. It rolled down the hill faster and faster until it reached the bottom, where it bounced up high and came to a stop, wedged between the stone walls on either side of the road. What to do now? So they dug it up, and then it rolled out, and now it's stuck between two hills. People can't get around it in the road. "That pretty is so big that no one, no cart, nothing can get by it," the constable complained to Father O'Malley. Constable is another word for police officer. "How's a body to get in or out of the village?" "What shall we do?" the villagers wailed. Then they all looked at Jamie and he said, "It's your pretty. You'll have to move it out of the way." "Well," Eileen spoke up, "there's more than enough pretty for everyone. Why don't you all take some home?" Eileen's out of bed. She's giving away the potato. So the villagers sawed and chopped and carted off huge pieces of potato while Jamie sat on the stone wall and watched. Look at that, cutting up one big potato. All winter long, everyone had potato to eat and eat and eat until no one wanted to see or hear of potato again. So they're happy to have it at the beginning, then they don't like it after a while. In the spring, Jamie said, "I saved a potato eye for a seed and had just about to plant it." "Oh no," the villagers all cried. "If you promise not to plant it, Jamie, we'll promise before St. Patrick and all the saints to see that you and Eileen always have plenty to cook and eat. You don't want another giant, we don't want another giant Pretty around here. Jamie smiled and agreed. What a perfect life for a lazy man. So here's that eye of the potato that you can also grow a potato from. He saved it. And they're telling him, no, we will feed you if you don't plant one of those again. And so you see, darling Eileen, Jamie told her, I wasn't such a fool with the leprechaun after all. And Eileen had to admit that Jamie O'Rourke was right. Remember how much gold that leprechaun said he had? Because he was just starting out, only 1 or 2 pieces of gold. Check out this picture of him. So what do you think? Did Jamie trick the villagers? Did Jamie get the better deal? Did the leprechaun trick Jamie? What do you think? I have a question of the day for you. What is your favorite way to eat potatoes? Do you talk about it with your family? Do you like to eat them mashed, French fries, tater tots, hash browns? Talk with your family today about your favorite way to eat potatoes. All right, I want you to keep doing your schoolwork and make sure you're also getting good playtime in, and I'll see you tomorrow.